Hey everybody, it's TR, and I decided I had a video that needed making um, with the topic of, does anybody care what your guitar costs? Well, this is what's cool. What I like about YouTube is that it stimulates discussions like this. So way too many things to type in the comments to say what I want to say and to say it right. So I thought, well, let's make a video. And we'll do a video and I can give my 2 cents worth, which is just exactly that. It's my 2 cents worth. Doesn't mean I'm right, doesn't mean I'm wrong. I'm not an expert, at least not on that. I could be an expert on a couple other things, but anyways. So, does anybody care what your guitar costs? Well, some people do, some people don't. I think what the real topic is people claiming that these cheap Amazon guitars are as good as a Fender, as good as a Gibson. Spoiler alert, they're not. They can be good. I tend to stay away from them. I tend to go with the, even though I know I'm spending extra money doing it, but Squire Epiphone type direction as far as my modding goes. And then of course there's the real thing. So where do I draw the line? One of the things I'm not any good at is finishing a guitar. And I think the biggest reason is just because I haven't done it much. But Eric, The Art of Noise, if you haven't checked him out, you should. The man is an artist. He finishes guitars, not just the quality of the finish, but the artwork. And he's also a really good tech too. So they end up with clean soldering and beautiful fret jobs, great setups. So let me start. It's show and tell day today. I hate to disappoint the trolls. I won't be doing any playing. This is probably the only guitar I have that I've finished. And why? Well, it's my Eddie Van Halen Frankenstein replica, and he just took a spray can and some tape and went at it. And I thought, well, that is my level of refinishing ability. The stripes aren't perfect, although I am pretty impressed with some of the job I did. I even have the 71D quarter. I don't have the reflectors because I play this. I shocked myself and ended up playing good. So I didn't want the reflectors because it would bother me to have them there to play it. It's Floyd Rose Special. What do I have in this? I don't know. I could tell you really quick. It's an $80 body. It's a neck off of a $250 Squire. I don't know how much of that you want to give the neck, how much you want to give the body, but if we want to say maybe $150 in the neck and body because there were parts I had, $90 in the Floyd Rose Special, that's $240. It's a leftover pickup I had laying around, some spray paint. I do have a set of Goto tuners on there. So if you want a rough guess, I'm saying I got about $350 in this. And at the end of the day, it's probably about as good as a made in Mexico Fender as far as the quality of the build and how it plays and everything. And of course the finish is horrible, but that was kind of the idea, right? So there's that. I mentioned on a comment, I responded to Eric on my thoughts on this stuff, that my sort of benchmark, if I'm going to mod a guitar, I really can't hope for it to be any better than a made in Mexico Fender or a inspired by Gibson Epiphone. I'm thinking the best I can do is to get to that quality. So if I've got more than, say, roughly 2/3 of that much money into modding something, don't mod it. Example. This is Classic Vibe Squire Telecaster. Very nice guitar, very nice. Us older folks might remember Fender used to make a series called Modern Player that they made in China. The Classic Vibes are modern players, basically, is what they are quality-wise. They just got the Fender name off there and got the Squire name on the headstock. It's the same guitar you would have got. Really nothing wrong with it. It's great. Are the electronics the same as a made in Mexico? Oh, they're good. Probably not quite as good. Tuners, very good. Good as made in Mexico, probably not quite as good. Problem being is these things are $450. And by the time you go replacing tuners and pickups, you're in the ballpark where you can buy a made in Mexico one. So just do that. So what have I done to this? Really nothing. I came across, it didn't cost me anything, but I came across one of these Telecaster electronic upgrade kits. Oh, what the heck's the name of the company? Steve from Boston bought one. They're not super expensive. They're on Amazon. I'm not going to think of the name of it right now. It's one of those weird Amazon names. But anyways, I had one. I got one given to me. I decided to put it in here, but that's the only mod I've done. Other than that, it's as it came. The name will come to me as I talk to you here. So that's my thoughts on that. Is I would come too close to the price of a Player Series Telecaster. So don't mod it. Other end of the spectrum is this, the famous Black Friday $149 Kramer that started out much more expensive but had many issues. I have, with everything I've done to this, I put some high quality made in Japan Goto tuning machines on it, and I put a push-in trem bar because that's a preference. Changed the electronics, which forced me to have to buy different knobs to fit the pots. That's all I've done to this. In this plays, probably to get to this level of quality play, you probably have to spend about $600 to $700, and I've got $250 in this. Worth doing, okay? If it would have started approaching $400 or $500, it's like, no, just get the guitar I want out of the box. Another example of don't touch it, the Inspired by Gibson Epiphones. I think these cost more now. This was $450 back when I bought it. I think they're around $5 or so now. Just the standard SG. I can buy one of those Amazon SGs and play around fixing it up all day long. And I'm never going to get it as good as this. I mean, I might come close. And by the time I'm done, I'm going to have as much money in it as what this cost. So what have I done to this? I put a set of Strat blocks on it. That's it. Okay, $450 in it. One of those, what do they have? They have West Creek, Firefly, whatever. $200. By the time I change the pickups and the tuners on it, I'm too close to the price of what this was. And this thing is nice. I really lament not buying a used Gibson a few years back. They only wanted $1,000 for it. At the time, the new ones were 12, so I thought, yeah, new one's only 12. I'll just get a new one someday. And new ones are over 2 now. Anyways, my point being is, it felt just like this. It did. It felt just like it. So, was it better quality? Well, a little bit, yeah. But as far as my hands went while I was playing it, what it felt like to play it, it felt like that. So, another thought. I have this guitar. Parts guitar. There again. Benchmark. Made in Mexico. Fender Strat, which, oh, by the way, I have several of. So I do know what benchmark I'm shooting for. Just like I have some Gibsons. They're not super expensive ones, but I have some. So I know the difference. I can compare. This guitar is a parts guitar. Body and neck were purchased. As to what Ed Dana was talking about, like the woods and things, or even Eric was talking about too, the woods drying out. This is a Mighty Mite neck. It's a licensed Fender neck. My son had originally got this, and we built it together. And he got in a situation. He's a bass player. And he was going to get rid of it and said, I'll give you a first crack at it if you want it. I'll give you a good deal. So I bought it off him. Well, right off the bat, this neck wasn't that great. It sat around for like, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years. And the wood dried out to the point where I had to deal with the fret sprout, dress the frets. But it dried out. And when it got done drying out, it feels amazing. This is one of the best Strat necks I own now. But it had to sit around the house for 4 years drying out. Oh, what have I got in this? Somewhere between $400 and $500, mostly because I have some very expensive locking tuners on here. They weren't originally on here. The ones that were on here were quality and worked fine. I play this a lot, so I wanted the locking tuners for the fast string changes, and the quality locking tuners, because I play it a lot, I wanted it to be smooth. So yeah, I'm thinking when I did the math on this, this is about $450, which is about as high as I'll go. If it gets over $5, I will just buy a made in Mexico, because there again, like with this inspired by Gibson, I don't do anything to those. I might put locking tuners on for making the string changes better, but that's not really an upgrade with the Fender locking tuners because they're just the same as the other tuners except they lock. And if they're single coil, when I'm a humbucker guy, I will buy a hot rail for the bridge. But that's kind of a lateral change. You know, it's not like you're necessarily getting an upgrade. It's just changing to a different kind of pickup. So I think that's what I wanted to say. It's because I love modding these things and fixing them up. But when they start costing me more than $400, it's like, no, because I have a lot of made in Mexico and a lot of inspired by Gibson Epiphones that range anywhere from $700 to $1,200 price range. And they're really nice guitars just as they are. And I don't do mods to those. And so, yeah, that's in a nutshell what I wanted to say. If I can keep it under 500 and approach the quality of one of those guitars, I'll do it. Gibson, made in USA Fender, no, all the work in the world. You're not going to change the wood that's in the body or the wood to the neck, both as Eric and Ed both said. And I'll mention names. I think the video everything got started with was Jace Allen. I really like his channel. He's got some really good thoughts. He is going to buy a Gibson so he can compare, and he's going to find, I don't know what it is. You could say they're overpriced, they're wood, they're wire, they're magnets, they're electronics, whatever. There's something magic about them. A USA made Gibson or a USA made Fender, it might be fairy dust, it might be bullshit, I don't know. But there is just something magic about it. Oh, that was another thing I wanted to say about cheap guitars too, with Ed Dana. Ed's a gigging musician. I know him and Linda are doing the acoustic thing now, but when they were doing the electric thing, if he buys a guitar that the wood's not dry yet on, has cheap pots, cheap electronics, especially cheap switch and electronics are going to break on him early on, and they're probably going to break in the middle of a gig. Tuners, he has to have good tuners. It has to be accurate tuning. And as far as the neck not being dried out, that's stability. That neck is going to, you're taking it in and out of the house, you're going in and out of different climates. If that wood in that neck hasn't dried out and gotten stable yet, it's nothing but trouble. So, hobby musician playing at home, cheap guitar looks like a great deal. A gigging musician, cheap guitar looks like a disaster. And nobody's wrong. We're looking at this from different viewpoints. I'd like to think I kind of understand it because I bought so much crap. But Ed is right. I truly do enjoy working on them and trying to make them better. And I study long and hard before I pick my subjects because there's ones that I'm not going to touch with a 10-foot pole. And then there's other ones like that Red Kramer that are just like you can't pass it up. Because for $250, I've got something that's playing as good as a $750 guitar right now. So that's my story. Sticking to it. You guys take care.